watch a double screening of Love Me Tender, the Elvis Presley film. They were huge fans of his, like basically everyone was at the time. But this was their 11th time watching this film, and they were a part of his official fan club and everything, so they were hardcore fans. The theater was only about a mile away from their home, so they presumably walked or took the bus there alone. During the film, Patricia's friend Dorothy was sat behind them, and she said they had left during the intermission, and she saw them later buying popcorn, and they seemed perfectly fine. She didn't notice anything strange going on. Both Barbara and Patricia were there for the second screening, so they were expected to be home at 11:45 p.m. However, they weren't arriving home, so Loretta, their mother, sent their older sister, Teresa, who was 17, and their brother, Joey, who was 14, to go wait at the bus stop for them, while she called all of Barbara and Patricia's friends to see if they were with them or knew where they were. Teresa and Joey waited, but 3 buses passed, and none of them had their sisters on it, so they went back home, and Loretta filed a missing persons report at 2:15 a.m. on December 29th. This was a huge deal, and a citywide search was initiated with hundreds of police officers and volunteers looking for the girls. 15,000 missing flyers were distributed to local homes, and the Sisters Church offered a $1,000 reward for information, which is like a hefty amount of money at the time, which resulted in false information, and police ended up questioning over 300,000 people, and about 2,000 of those people were more seriously interrogated, and there was one man named Edward Bedwell that confessed to killing them, but later recanted, saying that he was coerced after being subjected to a prolonged interrogation. Other teenagers who were also present at the theater said they saw the girls talking to someone who was in a Mercury, I can never say that word, dude. Mercury model car that resembled Elvis Presley. The guy resembled Elvis Presley, not the car. Investigators found it hard to obtain any concrete evidence, and this new information made them start theorizing that the girls had left home of their own accord. They didn't really treat the case as a serious missing persons case until a week after their disappearance, because family and friends weren't being contacted by the girls at all, so they started taking it more seriously. Public appeals were made, and in turn, many alleged sightings were reported that supported what the police had thought about them running away. Other theories included that they had possibly traveled to Nashville, Texas to watch Elvis live in concert, or that they ran away to emulate Presley's lifestyle. And honestly, I don't really think that they did that, because possibly traveled to Nashville to watch Elvis live. They left the house with $2.50. They had enough to watch both screenings of the movie, and then to pay for their bus fare. That was all that they had, so I don't know how they would have traveled to Nashville and how they would have gotten tickets, unless that guy that they were seen maybe possibly that's what happened. Yeah, I don't know, but I definitely don't think that they ran away to emulate Presley's lifestyle. It's a weird theory to me. But anyway, in the event that her daughters had been kidnapped, Loretta Grimes publicly pleaded, "If someone is holding them, please let the girls call me," adding, quote, "I'll forgive them from the bottom of my heart." On January 19th, 1957, an official statement was issued from Presley's Graceland estate. This televised statement read, "If you are good Presley fans, you'll go home and ease your mother's worries." Presley is also known to have made a direct radio plea to the Grimes sisters, imploring the girls to return home to their mother. On January 22nd, 1957, after a bout of snowfall, a construction worker named Leonard Prescott saw what he described as flesh-colored things behind a guardrail as he drove along the road 200 feet east of the county line road in Willow Springs. He initially thought that they were mannequins and actually brought his wife back to the spot. And I don't know why he did that, it's so weird, but upon getting a closer look at them, she fainted, and they realized that they were the nude, frozen bodies of Barbara and Patricia Grimes. Of course, they immediately reported this to the police. Barbara was laid on her side with her legs slightly drawn up to her torso. Patricia was laid on her back with her body covering her sister's head, with her own head turned sharply to the right. It is believed that they were driven there before they were dragged and tossed over the rail. Their father, Joseph Grimes, was brought to the crime scene to officially identify them. 3 wounds that resembled those inflicted by an ice pick were found on Barbara's chest, as well as blunt force trauma injuries on her head. I believe Patricia had similar injuries as well as having a lot of bruising around her body that her sister didn't have. The police searched the crime scene, uncovering nothing of use. The autopsies couldn't determine a time of death because of the snow halting any decomposition. There was no real way of knowing how long they had been there. However, the contents of their stomachs had the snacks that they had consumed at the movies, and nothing after that, so it is believed they died within the 5 hours following the last time they were seen. The cause of death was determined to be shock and exposure, and the wounds were determined to be inflicted after death, as well as the other injuries that they had were apparently determined to be caused by rodents, which, I mean, I don't know about that, but that's what they said. That's what they ruled it as. The autopsy also revealed that Barbara had likely engaged in sexual intercourse, whether it be consensual or non-consensual is unknown. There were no very obvious signs of it happening, like super forcibly, but that doesn't really mean anything. You could force somebody without physically forcing them, if that makes sense. Cause of death was listed as murder by secondary shock. Despite these official conclusions, the chief investigator for the Cook County Coroner's Office, Harry Close, disagreed with the official time of death, later stating to the media there had been numerous marks marks of violence on those girls' faces. Which I kind of agree with him, because there were a lot of other little injuries on their bodies that couldn't be explained by rodent infestation, which is exactly what he said. He said marks of violence on those girls' faces, strongly indicative of their being the recipients of violence as opposed to post-mortem rodent infestation. Close also contended that a thin layer of ice found encrusted upon the sisters' bodies indicated they had most likely been alive until at least January 7th, since only after that date would there have been any sufficient snowfall to react with the girls' natural body heat in such a climate, and thus create the layer of ice discovered upon their nude bodies in this location. He's like the only man speaking sense. They had like 5 different people do autopsies on the girls, and that's what they had come up with. But like, this guy is making so much more sense to me that it kind of feels like this is what happened, and that the people who did the autopsy were like, what's the word? I don't know. I can't think. What is the word? I don't know, that they were being shady and like covering it up, basically. Close also contended that this proved their bodies had been warm when they had been deposited beside German Church Road, since only after January 7th had there been sufficient snow to create such an ice layer upon and around their bodies. In addition to these facts, Close also stated that both girls had been subjected to sexual assaults throughout their period of captivity, adding that the autopsy conducted upon Patricia had discovered semen within the vaginal fluid swabbed from her body, and that curdled milk had also been found in Barbara's stomach when she is not known to have drunk milk either at her home or at the cinema on the evening of December 28th. The only person of interest in this case was Edward Bedwell, who later recanted. But honestly, I kind of feel like maybe it was him, because like, I don't know if it's just me, but I do kind of see a slight resemblance of him and Elvis. He's like an uglier version of Elvis in my mind. Like, I kind of see it, right? Like, imagine this guy in his car, like, with his hair done up kind of like Elvis. He kind of looks like him, right? Because they said he resembled him, not that he was like a look-alike or something. So I feel like he's close enough that it kind of maybe seems like it was him. Nothing else ever came of the case, so unfortunately it is a very cold case that is unsolved. And yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you in my next video. I don't know what case I'm gonna do next. I guess we shall just see. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think what Harry Close said is what happened, or do you believe what the autopsy reporters said? I'm betting on what Harry Close said. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think.